Jordan Sheridan has been investigating the situation in Flint, Michigan, and he has uncovered a pretty incredible story involving some misuse of campaign funds done by the Genesee County Prosecutor David Leyton. Now, David Leyton is the prosecutor who is supposed to represent the people and look into the Flint water crisis and figure out who is guilty of wrongdoing and what type of consequences should be doled out as a result. Now, if you look at some of the behavior of David Leyton, you find some interesting misuse of campaign funds and also a lot of weird inconsistencies in what he files for reimbursements and what actually happens behind the scenes. So keep in mind that he takes trips that he claims are business related, and then he pays himself back by expensing any type of cost that he incurred as a result of these trips, right? So a few examples would be $1,500 that he spent in Chicago, Illinois, $3,000 he spent in Washington, D.C., $6,000 in Tucson, Arizona, $5,000 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and $4,500 in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, when he filed expense reports, he indicated that those funds were necessary because he was attending National District Attorneys Association meetings. Well, Jordan actually reached out to the NDAA to figure out whether or not those meetings actually took place during the time that Leyton said that he went there. And it turns out that in 3 out of 5 cases, there was never a meeting by the NDAA. So what was he spending the money on? Why was he going on those trips?
So those are very fair questions, and we should look into. We have looked into it, and other press should look into it to get those answers. Because look, I think Jordan did a great job here because he did something that a lot of folks wouldn't have done. The guy says, "Look, I'm not spending taxpayer money. I'm spending campaign funds, and I'm going to these official trips. It's okay." That seems legit, right? But he bothered to check. Wait, were there NDAA events there? And even the NDAA says, no, to our knowledge, there was no way. Executive Director Kate Chopard said, several of the dates you list are not NDAA meeting dates or places, so I don't know what those might be. So one thing they might be is you take a vacation and then you don't want to pay for it. You want your campaign contributors to pay for it, and then you say there's an NDAA meeting. By the way, in some of those trips, Jordan also found out that he bought himself a cellular phone or an iPad, and an iPad in one case, and a laptop purchase in the other. Now, it could be that he bought it for his campaign, and he just happened to be in Fort Lauderdale, and he decided, boy, my campaign needs a laptop, okay? And it's entirely possible. That's why we have asked him over and over again, hey, clear this up, because misusing campaign funds is a legal problem, and it is also a problem with the IRS.
Yes.
So those are significant issues. If someone was asking me about that, I would want to clarify it if I was the local prosecutor.
Yes.
The fact that he has not clarified it is troubling.
It is troubling. Now, if you think that sounds suspicious and that sounds bad, keep in mind that this is an iceberg and that's just the tip, okay? There's a lot worse going on behind the scenes, and it's concerning considering the fact that this is the guy who's supposed to be investigating Flint and the water crisis there. Keep in mind that the situation with the drinking water hasn't improved much. And so Jordan continued investigating, and he found out that the Board of Commissioners voted to give Leyton a $45,000 raise as part of his promotion to Corporation Counsel. Now, Corporation Counsel is supposed to be completely separate from County Prosecutor. If those two roles are joined, there is a conflict of interest issue there, right? Now, Jordan explains this really well in the next video. Take a quick look. We'll come back and give you more details.
2 years ago, 2015, the Board of Commissioners of Genesee County, that is 9 individuals, that's the Board of Commissioners, gave David Leyton, the county prosecutor, a $45,000 raise to become the Corporation Counsel. So essentially, who John Gleason, the county clerk, has to bring campaign finance issues to is the Corporation Counsel, who in this place is David Leyton. So what happens when David Leyton's friends, other public officials, if there is concerns about their campaign finance reports? He has no choice but to bring it to David Leyton, who is he going to prosecute his friends or people he fundraises with or people who have donated to him? Even bigger than that, what happens when there's concerns or questions raised about David Leyton's campaign finance? Who are you to bring that to? Well, in Genesee County right now, the county clerk, John Gleason, has to bring those concerns about David Leyton's campaign finance reports and irregularities to, say it with me, David Leyton.
Disaster. So it's extremely corrupt. And of course, David Leyton isn't gonna punish himself for the misuse of campaign funds, right? And so if this type of corrupt behavior is taking place among local government officials, how can we expect them to actually represent the people of Flint, Michigan and their best interests? So
let me be a little bit clearer about it too. So you could have a conflict of interest without corruption. It is possible, but you shouldn't, because if there is corruption, it'll be incredibly hard to unearth if you ask the guy who's supposed to unearth it to unearth his own corruption. Most time they don't. So George's not the first to look into this. Genesee County Clerk John Gleason actually filed a lawsuit against Genesee County because he saw these irregularities with Leyton's campaign records that were in the past, so right. Different things.
The first time he attempted to do an audit of Leyton's expense reports was back in 2013. And apparently that whole negotiation kind of fell through, and then it came back up again in 2015. And then all of a sudden in 2016, Leyton is named the Corporation Counsel, and as a result, like, he doesn't have to follow through with any type of audit.
So when he didn't, then Gleason, whose job is to check all this, refiled the lawsuits. And he said the fact that he's also the Corporation Counsel has decided not to follow through on this audit, he said is, quote, wholly unethical. So this is now us following up and finding out where the money was spent on the campaign finance. And there are not good answers on where it was spent. We know where it went. We don't have good but it doesn't match up with what Leyton has said publicly. So again, we asked Leyton to comment on it because maybe he can clarify all this, but so far hasn't yet. Now, one more last thing about this in regards to Flint, because look, one of the reasons we care and you guys care is because there's the lead in the water in Flint. So many people got sick and they still can't drink the tap water. And Leyton decided not to pursue any charges against anyone in relationship to that case. Which is interesting because it turns out that he was the prosecutor who had to approve all the contracts for switching over to the KWA. That's the water authority they switched over to. Now, if you approved switching over to that authority, would you prosecute anyone else for switching over to that water authority? Well, fairly unlikely. And it's not like, well, nobody could pursue charges. In reality, Michigan Attorney General Bill Schuette has brought charges against 13 individuals. So you can actually bring charges in this case, but Leyton has chosen not to because not only is he the one that authorized it, but he is such good friends with Jeff Wright, who is both the Genesee County Drain Commissioner and the CEO of KWA, who they switched to, right? Another giant conflict of interest. Leyton says he's such a good friend of mine that I'm recusing myself in some of these cases. So did he investigate Wright and the switchover? Hadn't happened yet, right? So if you live in Flint, you live in Genesee County, you might want to look into this because if you're looking to your leaders to do investigations on this, hasn't happened yet, and there might be a good reason why it hasn't. You don't like ads? I hear you, brother. You know how you can avoid ads for the Young Turks? Become a Young Turks member and get all the content ad-free. TYTnetwork.com/join.